What's up, buds? Welcome to the new episode of the Earbuds Podcast, the podcast where two friends talk about one album for way too long. We are your hosts, Lucas, Dirty Harry Interkovs, and me is me, and you, Brett, are you, Brett, Dirty Harry Hanrahan. Tried really hard with the nicknames this week. And today
we're listening to Dirty Harry by Gorillaz.
Yes, today we're listening to Dirty Harry for 52 minutes by the Gorillaz. Now we're going to be talking about Demon Days, the Gorillaz' second full-length record. Came out, like 17 years ago at this point or something.
2005. So yeah, 17 years.
Jesus Christ. So you were but a zygote.
I was alive.
You were
Thank you very much.
I was 10.
I was 10 whole years old. All right.
Okay, that's decent.
I had just gotten out of diapers and I was a very big boy because of it.
So you're really proud of yourself. Your parents are really proud of you.
I was very proud of myself. I still wet the bed. I did wear diapers to bed, but not in the daytime. I didn't need them anymore. Okay.
At least you can admit it. And it might look a little different on my end. Today I'm in the Olas Media studio. We're recording I'm recording at least from a legit podcast studio. Brett, you're still in your bedroom.
Well, I got stuck in the blur dimension.
Yeah.
Which happens every once in a while.
It happens. Well,
luckily I'm coming in clear.
Yeah, you're clear. And it works because to be in the blur dimension, Damon Albarn was the singer of Blur before doing Gorillaz. So I see what you did there, Brett, whether you meant to or not.
It completely
very clever. Very clever. This is Gorillaz' second album, technically second full-length record. They did have a remix album that came out after their self-titled record that was called Leica Come Home, and I think it was like a really, really deep reggae dub remix record that I personally fucking love. But I would say this is probably my favorite Gorillaz album.
I'd say so as well. I think a lot of people make an argument for Plastic Beach being the best, which I could totally see, but
fucking great. Yeah.
I always find myself coming back to this one. It's a little more accessible. It's a little less dense. And like, if you're going into Plastic Beach, it's almost like a commitment.
Yeah. Plastic Beach is something like 17 songs. It's a pretty long album too. But this one, it's weird, man, because this I would say is probably my favorite Gorillaz album, but it has way fewer hits than I remember on it, like way fewer singles. You have Dirty Harry, right?
It had Dirty Harry. It's got, of course,
Good Ink,
the smash meteor hit.
Yeah.
I think Dare's a huge one.
Man, love that fucking song.
And Kids with Guns, I think, were like the 4 singles.
Okay, I didn't know Kids with Guns was one. I mean, this album went 6 times platinum in the UK. Yep. And 2 times platinum in the US. I mean, that's a fucking monster hit of an album. And I didn't realize, it's weird to think like that's how big the singles were. There were 2 really big singles from this record, and it got them 6 times platinum. It's fucking insane.
Well, it's just because this is not the first time we've listened to this album. We've been listening to this album pretty consistently, I'd say, for a while, and there's good reason. This record really encapsulates a perfect blend of psych and experimental and accessible pop to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's got I feel like there's a cool undertone of reggae throughout this whole thing. And I always hear it. You don't, because you're not a reggae fan.
Yep.
But man, there is it's a mix of like dark pop and trip hop and reggae. And there's even some rock stuff in there. Like White Light feels like kind of a rock track.
Yeah, kind of a weirdly aggressive track.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that this was kind of a concept record.
Yeah, no, when it's not new for the Gorillaz to talk about things like, the environment and like
a lot of social issues
kind of stuff. And this album kind of takes place in this dystopian kind of future, and there's a lot of Gorillaz specific lore as well.
Right.
But I don't think we're probably going to get too deep into that, because
I don't know anything about that.
You know nothing. I know a little too much.
You have a cursory understanding of the Gorillaz verse.
I have a pretty good. I've watched a good couple videos on it on YouTube, so I'd say I'm an expert.
Okay, well, that's what most people would say after watching a couple of YouTubes about any subject. Yeah, it's probably they're at the expert level at that point. But yeah, it's interesting. Like this album, a lot of the songs and the themes were partially influenced by a train trip that Damon Albarn and his family took through China. And he says like they were going through the impoverished kind of rural areas of China. And he's like, the whole album kind of tells the story of the night, like staying up during the night, but it's also seems to be an allegory. Like it's what we're living in, basically, the world in a state of night. So Demon Days is kind of Damon's, reference to like we are in the end of days or the demon days in terms of as a society and a culture. And it's interesting that taking a train through China, the really rural, impoverished areas, like it impacted him so much to almost write an entire record about it.
Yeah, but I think something that's great about Gorillaz is that they have these messages that are kind of, tinged with melancholy and sadness and depression. But by the end of the album, it ends on an uplifting note that maybe we can get through this. There's always a little light in that tunnel for Gorillaz. They've always tried to keep it a bit above ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy way to end a record with a really positive, uplifting note when you have like a church choir singing for the last 4 minutes of the song and singing something that's very positive. The words are very positive, and it's cool, man, because there's definitely a sonic difference between their self-titled record and this one. And something I learned while listening to this, which makes so much sense why the record sounds very different to me, is they got Danger Mouse to produce this whole thing.
Yeah, Danger Mouse.
What a fucking get, dude. Even in 2005, like he had just done the Gray album. So like Damon heard that and he was like, okay, this is the guy. This is our guy.
Which is like the White album by the Beatles and Jay-Z's Blueprint.
No, Jay-Z's Black album.
Black album.
The Black and White together is Gray. Color Theory.
Well, look, I'm not a painter. Okay, I'm an artist.
You're only 10 years old when it came out. How are you supposed to know colors?
Yeah. Come on. That's like third grade stuff, Lucas. I wasn't that far yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, Danger Mouse's influence is really apparent to me on this record, because I hear a lot of, I don't know if you listen to a lot of, what's his band with CeeLo Green? Danger Mouse's band with CeeLo Green. They did Crazy.
Is it fucking Gnarls?
I had it. Gnarls Barkley. Yes, Gnarls.
Was that
Barkley.
Danger Mouse?
Yeah, that's Danger Mouse and CeeLo Green together, man. Yeah. I met Danger Mouse in Athens, Georgia, on the UGA campus.
Interesting, because he's not on this fucking episode.
I know. I should have reached out. I get it. Fucking hint taken. But no, man, he was really, really cool. And I was completely flabbergasted when I saw him. I was at a random bar in UGA just hanging out with my family, and fucking Danger Mouse just walks in, and he's an alumni of UGA. So
wow,
he was sitting at the bar with a fine ass lady, and I didn't want to bother him, but she went to the bathroom and I fucking ran. I ran up to him.
And you had to bother him a little bit.
I had to say something, and I just told him how much I loved his music, but I had no idea he had anything to do with this album, and I could really hear it. I mean, there's something specific about Danger Mouse's production where the percussion is really fucking punchy and loud. And I think something that he's really, really good at too is ending a song on a really strong note. And every single song on this album, I've got to say every song on this album has a bit of a lull, like the bridge of every song just kind of like brings down the mood a little bit. They quiet it and they kind of strip down the instrumentation. And then when it comes back louder and harder than it did for the whole song before that. And they end each song on such a strong note. And that's so Danger Mousey to me. So I could see his influence like immediately on the album.
Oh yeah. So many songs have great outros on them. El Mañana and every planet we reach is dead kind of has a jammy feel through the whole thing. And so that outro where they're really getting into it.
And think about like All Alone too, like the end of All Alone, it comes back so hard. Like All Alone has a bridge that I don't necessarily like the bridge, but it's so perfect in terms of songwriting because that bridge just sets up that last 45 seconds or whatever of the music, and it just explodes, and it's so fucking fun to listen to, and it just gets me hyped up, dude.
Yeah, the difference between this and the first album is like night and day to me. The first album was I'd say a little more experimental, a little more ambient, like a lot more ambient and not as kind of focused. While this album, a lot more focused, a lot more driven, much more accessible.
A lot poppier, a lot catchier, right?
Yeah,
like
but
there's not as much like you said, it's not as eclectic, this record, even though there's trip hop and hip hop and rock and everything on it. There's definitely the first album had like Latin and world music and like drum and bass and all this stuff that they were just kind of fucking around and just doing whatever they want. This definitely felt a lot more focused. You're right. Yeah. But man, and also, goddamn, they have some legit features on this album, dude. I mean,
for sure.
MF Doom alone.
MF Doom alone is a crazy get, which he references in the song. Is that like, why am I here? De La Soul is on it. Booty Brown had one of my favorite features on the record.
Booty Brown from Farside. Fucking Dennis Hopper, one of my favorite actors of all time. He narrates an entire track. Like, what is the mountain with the fire monkey head or something?
Yeah, fire coming out of monkey's head.
Yeah, that's, oh man, that almost became one of my favorites on the record too.
It was an interesting one. It's not one you would expect, a spoken word song with a couple choruses thrown in.
Yeah,
but the music was interesting and the pacing of the story was perfect.
Dude, apparently like even Ike Turner is on this record at one point, which I didn't
really.
I don't know what he's doing on it. I thought Ike Turner got canceled like in the 80s or some shit, but apparently not. The Gorillaz were like, fuck that, we're bringing Ike Turner back.
What's his face on Dare? He's like the singer of a popular British band that no one here has ever heard of. Sean Ryder.
Before. Yeah. And I used to hate that song, dude. I hated Dare.
I would say it's the most repetitive, most made for radio song on this record. It's
probably the most like Sean Ryder's actual band, whatever band that is. Like, I'm assuming he does music like this, but I absolutely hated that song. It made no sense to me when I've heard this album probably 1,000 times at this point, and it just made zero sense to me until I saw a live DVD performance of the Gorillaz.
Oh boy.
I think it was in Brooklyn. It was like out in a park in Brooklyn, and they brought Sean Ryder and whoever the female singer is on that album or on the song, I don't know.
Noodle.
Man, it just completely sold me on the song. Like the way that they performed it live, I was just, it's easily one of my favorite tracks on the record.
How many live videos of that song with Sean Ryder have you watched?
Probably 3.
Because there are some infamously horribly bad performances of that song that are hilarious.
I don't think I realized.
He comes out sloshed with like a lollipop in his mouth, and he's just kind of trying to just keep up with the music, and that poor girl singing the chorus has to deal with
and he's really sweaty, and he's wearing like all leather, like shiny Missy Elliott type like leather get-ups and everything, at least what I've seen him in. And all he says is 3 words. So I can't imagine him bungling the song that fucking bad, but that's how sloshed he was. Like, I don't think I've seen that performance, dude.
I will send you a link after this recording. It is must watch.
I think throughout the whole album, the production alone just stands the test of time. This is not, I wouldn't be surprised again if you told me that this came out yesterday. Like, no, doesn't sound weird to me at all.
It's ageless. It's an album I can listen through on loop and never get tired of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just, it's super catchy. It can be super groovy. It's super emotional at times. It kind of hits all the marks of a great album. And in the listing of the album, the track listing, I honestly prefer the first half of the record more myself. But I think the last 2 songs make for a great outro. I think the intro is cool going into, the second track on the album, Last Living Souls.
Yeah, technically like the first real track on the album, like the first real song, and I think it's a very weird opener.
You think so?
It's just so understated. They're not like, usually, bands like to come out the gate, fucking come out sprinting, like on a new record and really set it up to like get you hyped right off the bat. And Last Living Souls is very chill, man.
It's kind of minimalist at first.
Yeah.
With just the bass and the vocals and in a cheap sounding electronic drum set.
Very
I
Casio.
thought it was cool. It develops and then it drops out with the vocals and goes into this really cool string part.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Love
kind
it,
of like
dude.
a switch up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool moment when I listened to it. I thought it was a great first track to kick this album off with.
I mean, I love the song. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna shit on it or anything, but I thought it was weird. I thought it was a weird closer or a weird opener. But I mean, is there anything that we didn't like about this record? Like, I just kind of feel like it's very hard to nitpick this thing and pick it apart. It would literally be like, I didn't like that one bass line, or I didn't like, how Damon said that word.
It's really tough because I feel like there are more big moments on further projects like Plastic Beach. There are more like epic cinematic moments that this album can't really reach, but I think it has a great balance of features and of just Damon. I think there's a great variety of tracks.
Yeah. There's a lot of vibes throughout the whole record. There's a lot of different, like, you have dance songs, you have straight mid-tempo, just electronic stuff just to kind of like keep you grooving. But I would say probably my least favorite thing about the record is Damon.
Really? Is it like, what part of him?
I think that he really phoned it in on his vocals on a lot of the songs, man. He sounds so lazy and quiet on a lot of the songs that I know that that's a criticism that a lot of reviewers and critics gave this album when it first came out, because a lot of people had nothing but pretty much good things to say. They definitely praised it for being a lot more focused and everything, but they gave Damon a lot of shit for, I mean, you listen to some of these songs and he's like, come on, he's really not singing.
He might have not put much effort into it, but I think he sings as 2D. Like, that's the character he plays in this band.
Okay.
And the voice of 2D to me is iconic. I look forward to hearing it. I like the kind of lazy sloppiness of it.
Yeah, especially it's very sloppy, very lazy.
Especially when it's paralleled with other features, like with Booty Brown, where he comes in guns blazing, kind of like a Danny Brown style of delivery.
Yeah.
I would say probably my least favorite part of this album might be there are a couple preachy lines, a couple preachy songs and lyrics that irked me a little bit.
Like what? Fucking Kids with Guns, which is probably the darkest song title I've heard in a while. And he was talking, like, I think the history behind that song is that a kid came to his daughter's school with a knife. And it was just to kind of show off his knife. He wasn't going to do anything crazy, but it's like it's kind of an eye-opening moment. And especially nowadays where so many parents have to be so fucking concerned all day about their kids' safety at school, which is like the last thing you should have to worry about. It's, in 2005, the Gorillaz had a song called Kids with Guns. And you think about even like Foster the People's song that came out around that time too, where, like, what is it? Pumped Up Kicks? Yeah,
Pumped Up Kicks is about a kid that, basically causes a school shooting.
Yeah. And it's like a fucking dance song that played at PacSun every single day that I worked there. And no one realized how fucking dark and ironic it was that we were playing that,
Yeah, I saw that song more as a kind of take on the next generation, like choosing, I guess, violence for safety. And coming up in this world that's
You're talking
really
about Kids with Guns?
Yeah, like Kids with Guns.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's probably one of the only songs I didn't like on the record. I would say like Kids with Guns and El Mañana are the only two songs that I just didn't grab me.
I think there were a couple flyovers.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Just songs that kind of got blended in the mix a little bit. All Alone was kind of one of those ones for me.
Oh, I love All Do you ever hear Chopped and Screwed, Brett? You ever listen to Chopped and Screwed music?
No.
Well, see, that's the problem. I used to screw music in college because I wasn't good enough to chop it, but I would take songs that I loved and just slow it down by like 15% and just get stoned beyond fucking recognition and just listen to.
You were doing the fucking slowed and reverbed.
Yes. Yeah. I was way ahead of that shit before anyone started doing that. And I mean, I would do it to the most random shit. I would slow down Incubus songs and Radiohead songs and Led Zeppelin. And obviously like most like hip hop stuff that I was listening to at the time, Most Def and the Roots and all that. But All Alone was probably one of my favorite songs I ever slowed down. And that song has so much instrumentation going on at once. Hearing it 15% slower just makes all of that shit just shine, and you can hear every single element in the song. And I have such a soft spot for All Alone because I used to listen to that way slower than it is on the record, but it's still definitely one of my favorites. And it was a flyover for you? It's fucking
it was a little bit of a flyover.
Defend yourself.
I thought it's had such a good song dynamics through the whole song. The little voices were fun, but got a little annoying after a couple listen.
Yeah.
And that it? when it's
what else you got?
When it's after November has come, which is to me like super just chill. A very cool, interesting song. Maybe it's just because has Doom on it, and then White Light, which is a aggressive, different feeling track. All Alone seems to kind of blend in. I feel like Don't Get Lost in Heaven was also a little bit of something that was like maybe you could have combined with Demon Days and just been one.
It could have been one long song for sure,
and I think it would have been like suited it a little better.
Yeah, for sure. But those are the only songs that you don't really like, because that's pretty fucking amazing.
I mean, it's a great album, man. It's great. And even it's not even songs I don't like. It's just songs that like
you don't like as much as the other ones.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Yeah. It's like other than Kids with Guns, I think that's really the only song that I could skip it. I don't need that song in my life, to be honest. And it's not the theme or anything like that. It's just I just think it's boring, to be honest. That bass line gets stuck in my head. And the bass lines on this album are amazing. Usually pretty like extremely simple and basic, but really iconic. Yes. And the basis of the music, it seems like Damon maybe wrote the bass parts first and wrote the rest of the music around it. Yeah, I would definitely say the bass is probably what pushes through that reggae undertone that I called out a little while ago. That it just has this deep, almost synthy bass at times. But there's such a great mix of acoustic instrumentation, like a regular, bass guitar and drums, and then combining with all this electronic stuff going on and all this post-production stuff that Danger Mouse did and the mixing. And it's just all so like, I mean, if it's not S tier, it's at least A tier, man. Yeah.
No, I'd say S tier is easy.
Yeah. And again, MF Doom, one of my all-time favorite MCs, and I love how much he can just go under the radar, man. Like if you're not paying attention to what he's saying, it's so easy to kind of dismiss MF Doom as, he kind of sounds goofy and he has a slow delivery and he kind of like, no offense to MF Doom, RIP, but it's like he doesn't sound super intelligent when he's rapping. It's like his voice it's like I feel bad for some people from the South that it's just the media's representation of people from the South. Like when you hear a really thick Texan accent or something, it's just like you just kind of assume that they're dumb. And I feel bad for that. But MF Doom, I mean, like what song was it on? Oh, dude, like I just miss him so much. And the beat for November Has Come is just slow enough for MF Doom. Like he's usually doing really good mid-tempo beats. That's usually his backing track. But again, like I just love, he'll just always be one of my favorite all-time MCs because of how under the radar he can fly. And it's like, you don't know, if you don't listen to what he's saying, you won't realize how clever and honestly, like sometimes genius he is.
Yeah. He's always been one of the best lyricists. He loves like coming up with interesting rhyming schemes and coming
the
up
wordplay is insane.
yeah, these colorful images, and
he's really
ways
playful,
yeah,
right? Like
he's
his
very
rhymes can be
playful.
goofy, and because of that, you don't realize how good he can be too.
The song itself is almost kind of cartoony,
Yeah.
you know, with that like whatever interesting guitar work throughout this album, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
for
not
sure.
really.
That's Danger Mouse all the way, I feel like, man.
Well, do you want to get into
Choice nugs,
nugs?
man. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I brought this, or no, you brought this album, so I should get started. I mean, either way, I would have been first.
Okay.
But
fine.
It's going to be, honestly, it might be a basic bitch choice snug, but Feel Good Inc. is by far one of my favorite Gorillaz songs ever, and definitely one of my favorites on this album.
I don't think
I'll ever get tired of that song, dude.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
I don't shame you at all for picking it. It's everything about it as iconic. The bass line, the verses by De La Soul, the choruses, the weird like guitar work throughout the whole thing that I never noticed until Rock Band came out and like emphasized it for me.
I was on Rock Band. That's random.
Yeah, it might have been a DLC song, but
okay. I mean, yeah, but De La Soul's feature is honestly at this point legendary. Like all of my friends know all those bars. Like we sing along to everything, and it's the one track on the record that I would say Damon kills it on it too. You know,
I think the megaphone kind of filter he has, is very fitting for this. It's again kind of a melancholy groove type of song.
But then you have De La Soul that just brings so much energy. And the first time I heard that song, once they come in, it's so unexpected. You don't expect it to become a hip hop track. And then it goes into the watch me as I gravitate. Ha 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 ha.
They like, just don't stop. In.
Get it. It's so it is iconic at this point.
I think it's definitely an honorable mention. I've heard it too many times, but listening back, I always skip this song whenever I listen to this album. But this time I listened to it and I thought, like, man, I really wish I hadn't heard this song so many times because it's just good shit.
It's kind of the same with Dirty Harry, right? It's like you just heard it so much, but it's still so good. But yeah, man, Feel Good Inc. has to be a choice snug. One of us had to do it. I'll take
one
the
of us
had
bullet. To do it.
Yeah,
and one of us had to pick Dirty Harry, and that's
me. Yeah.
Of course, I'm picking Dirty Harry as one of my nugs.
For sure.
Such a groovy song. I love how the drums sound on this one, especially. And
I love the children's vocals on the song.
Yeah,
which I usually fucking hate children's choir vocals because they're usually used in such a cheesy way where it's either creepy. You know, it's like a horror song, so it's little kids singing, or it's just meant to be super happy and positive. It's just like, you know, save the children type shit where you know how I am about sappy, happy songs. I fucking hate it automatically off the bat. But there's something about the way that they use the trope of a children's choir on this song that I think they pulled it off so well. Because it's such an overused thing to hear in music, but like in this one, it's just so fun to listen to. Like I just love singing along to it.
It's fun, and they're saying something that like is weird enough to kind of offset,
right? The cheery
being a children's choir. I need a gun to keep it. Meantime, you're just fucking dancing.
Dude, that.
Yeah,
like amazing,
so
dude.
Iconic. Every time I hear this song, I think of the music video that went along with it, where they're just kind of dancing in a desert, you know.
Yeah.
And then Booty Brown comes in with a tank, and just great like Feel Good Inc.
Great rap part.
Yeah, he just comes in with all this energy, and he is just giving it his all on this song. And I think it's a great verse. It's my favorite verse on this album, though. Feel Good, it's probably got to be more iconic in the long run.
For sure. I would say MF Doom had my favorite verse on the whole thing, just because that guy will always have a special place in my heart. I had a friend who, you know, has passed away a few years ago, but he was the one who got me into Action Bronson and Mos Def and MF Doom. And I just have such a special connection to MF Doom as an artist. And, you know, like, I genuinely do believe people when they get upset when artists and musicians and actors pass away, you know, like some people just meant a lot to them.
Yeah.
The only 2 times I've cried when a musician has passed away, the first one was Prince. I legitimately,
just like everyone else,
legitimately lost it to that. Purple Rain is one of my all-time favorite movies, one of my all-time favorite songs. I can't sing along to that song without crying. And the other one was MF Doom. I genuinely was very, very affected by his passing away because it almost felt like I was reliving my friends passing away again. It was very weird and very personal, and I didn't think I would react that way, you know, but it almost felt like I was reliving that moment again because that artist MF Doom meant so much to the 2 of us, you know, just as in our relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't think if we went off on honorable mentions, I would just name every single song on this album, but there's definitely some standout honorable mentions for me. November Has Come.
That's one of my honorable mentions as well.
Absolutely love that song.
Great beat.
Dare was another honorable mention. I just
made it to honorable mention.
Dude, I think a big part of it, obviously it's very dancey, right? So it's like so easy to dance to, but it's something about Sean Ryder's voice. It's so fucking British. And I love
it's extremely British.
It's ridiculously British. And I love when you can hear accents when someone's singing, because there's a lot of British musicians that sound American when they're singing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of American musicians that try to sound fucking British. But
then you get like slow tie.
Yeah, and right. Yes, exactly, dude. And all the drill or grime rappers from the UK right now that just like are just doubling down on that kind of you know, like blue collar.
It's
British
almost grimy.
Accent. It's almost, you could say it's grimy. But yeah, man, and Fire Coming Out of the Monkey's Head was really, I mean, that was really hard not to pick as a choice nug for me. Absolutely love that song. Love Dennis Hopper, but I'm gonna say my other choice nug sounds like one of your least favorites. It's All Alone.
All Alone.
Yeah. Has a very grimy feel to it, a very reggae grime feel to it.
Yeah, it's got that kind of distorted beat going the whole time. It only gets more distorted as the song goes on.
Yeah, exactly. The MC feature, which I'm not sure what his name is on it, but
that is fucking Roots. It is
Roots. Oh, Roots Manuva?
Manuva.
Yeah. I'm guessing he's a British rapper. He has a very thick accent as well, but I love it because there's a lot of British rappers that almost have like a patois, like a Jamaican patois kind of accent to their sound. And man, I absolutely love it so much. And again, it's one of the ones that I slowed down. I heard this song a million times and I love it even when it's 15% slower. And just bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier, where all these songs end so strongly. And this one I think is just such a great example of that, where the bridge almost takes you out of the song a little bit. It's almost like way too quiet and way too stripped down. But man, when it comes back in, it's just Danger Mouse knows what he's doing with that, dude. He turned that shit up and it just comes back and hits so hard. And this will always be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I can imagine the part of the song where the woman's vocal comes in slowed down.
Close your eyes and see.
Yeah, and very like kind of had nothing to do with the song up until that point, which I do always appreciate.
Yeah, well, I don't. That usually takes me out of it, but this still ended up being one of my favorites because especially when the song kicks back in and it has that cool kind of trip hoppy percussion. It's like
yeah, right.
Like just so driving. Love it, man. Love it.
Well, yeah, man, that was, you know, it's a good song. It's not a bad song.
Yeah, fuck off.
At all.
Don't pander to me.
No, like you can believe the things that are wrong that you want to think are right. It's fine.
Like it's subjective. It's fine. Well, what about you? What's your second?
My second nug. Well, I
feel like it's gonna surprise me.
Aside from the honorable mentions, this will surprise you.
Oh boy.
Last Living Souls was an honorable mention.
Yep.
As well as Kids with Guns, Feel Good Inc., November Has Come. But my second nug, I believe, is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. and it's El Mañana.
What? One of my least favorites.
It's it's surprising, isn't it?
That's been happening a lot lately with me and you. So it shouldn't surprise me anymore. It has a very similar vibe to Feel Good Inc. Almost a very similar melody to it. It's weird that they put it right after. I think maybe that's why I disliked it, because I like Feel Good Inc. so much more.
I thought it was a great follow-up to Feel Good Inc.
You would.
It kind of tones it down a little bit. It's got these ambient synths with this acoustic guitar
or synths.
Ambient synths.
I think you're the ambient simp for this song.
I am, dude. I
Maybe
fucking
not so
love
ambient.
this song.
Yeah. All right.
This is I just love it. The guitar sounds a little cheap, which is something I like.
Yeah.
Damon's vocals are very tired and soft in this one. And I think but I like that about it.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a good summer song. It has a good summer vibe to it. It's very chill.
I see it as melancholy incarnate. Like this,
Jesus.
When I think of melancholy music, this is the song I think of, because it's kind of got this groove, but it's got these sad vocals and these sad melodies, but the chorus is still catchy, and it kind of not exactly singing out, but like almost longing for something. Melancarnate.
Yeah.
And it's got a great outro where the strings kind of happen and more music is developing, but that's just Danger Mouse's vibe.
Yes, exactly. And it pulled off so well. I wonder if he produced any of their other albums after this. I don't know if Plastic Beach is produced by Danger Mouse.
Yeah, man, we got to get to Mouse in the Mask, dude.
Oh, so good. We should do that.
We're talking about MF Doom and Danger Mouse. And
we should definitely do that.
Weird take. One of my favorite Doom albums.
Oh, absolutely. That and Food.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I love your story about watching someone like unwrap an Food. Like it had a scratch and sniff or something. It was a scratch and sniff record.
Yeah, it was like Nardwuar gave it to somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, it's supposed to smell like beef." And they open it and it smells like spoiled garbage.
A 20-year-old scratch and sniff record. I can't imagine that smells good at all.
No, yeah.
Well, speaking of not smelling very good, I want to hear your fucking score, your rating for this.
My fucking rating.
I have a feeling I'm gonna wiggle my nose at it a little bit. I think it's gonna stink.
Gonna frown a little bit. Seems like
I'm gonna get upset. I'm already upset.
It's so hard to come up with arguments against this album. It's hard to think of the things I don't like about this album, just because I think it did everything right. As I said before, it has a great balance of genres and moods. It has a great balance of features and not features, like Damon, whereas Humans, which is an album I do like, but has like way too many features on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of drowning
a little too much. Yeah. Which is my main complaint about a lot of modern rap, is way too many features. Way too many features. It's like the main artist has one verse on every track. I'm like, that's not okay.
Like it's your album, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do more on it if you want.
Yeah. But anyway.
I think they do a great job at capturing melancholy. They do a great job at having this interesting music throughout their album, these interesting vocals, while keeping a pop sensibility and keeping it accessible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just comes down to, personally, there's music I like a little bit more.
From the Gorillaz or in general?
It's, some of my favorite songs are on this record, but they have so much good music. Tomorrow Comes Today is one of my favorites. Empire Ants is amazing. An iconic moment on Plastic Beach.
Yes.
A good couple songs on Humans that I can't remember at the moment.
Okay.
God, it's just hard.
You didn't have a rating fucking already decided upon?
I mean, I do, but like, it doesn't make sense
Listen
because
to your heart.
I don't have a lot of criticism about this album. So I feel like the rating isn't fair, but in my heart,
Yes.
I want to give this album
fat pig heart.
My fat little pig heart. I want to give this album an 8.8 out of 10.
That's yeah. This like it's gonna get at least an 8 from me. Like I totally agree with you. Like the pop sensibilities. This album is so catchy for being so weird at the same time.
Yeah.
You can dance to the entire thing. Like you said, there's a lot of deep themes to this that you don't necessarily need to pick up on to really enjoy this record. And it has some of my favorite Gorillaz songs of all time. And just understanding that Danger Mouse had so much to do with this made me appreciate it even more, because I finally understood why I liked it so much. Yeah. Why this album like really stood out to me, even when it came out. I was listening to this like from the moment it came out, and absolutely have not, I haven't dropped off on it at all. So I'm going to give this album dude, this might be the first time ever I'm giving it an 8.8 as well.
All right.
I don't think that's ever happened.
Exact matching of the ratings.
Yeah, I think we both loved it just as much. And you know, like you said, it's not a perfect record, and there are some Gorillaz songs that are not on this album that we love just as much, but you can't take that away from this record. There's so many so many iconic moments and iconic people on this, between MF Doom, De La Soul, Ike Turner. There's so many people on this that it's like you gotta tip the cap to them. So 8.8, dude. Solid.
Little tip of the dick. Yeah.
Little tip of that dick.
Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. What do you think of Demon Days? Is this the pinnacle of Gorillaz? Is it just overrated?
Us? Yeah. Is it just us that this has 30 million fucking plays on Spotify? It can't just be us.
Do y'all even know who this band is? They're a little deep cut. Yeah. Have you ever heard Feel Good Inc.?
I think many people have and haven't even realized that they've listened to it. I think my buddy JC might not have heard this album before. So I'm hoping he kind of, maybe I'll put it in a playlist. We have a shared playlist. I might throw a couple tracks on there for him to check out. But yeah, Buds, leave us some comments. Let us know what y'all think about this record. How much do you guys love or hate this thing? Give us a follow on Instagram at EBPcast, to follow on our YouTube. Just search Earbuds Podcast. You will find us. We have something like 90 episodes just in our back pocket for you guys to check out. We talk about a lot of different types of music. Subscribe, fucking tell your friends about us, and let us know what albums you guys would want us to talk about. There's plenty of other Gorillaz records that we might bring to the podcast if you guys want us to. So let us know.
There's probably one Gorillaz record that I would really not want to get in. No, two. But
okay. All right. Well, no spoilers. All right. Oh, great. Fuck. Well, like, let us know what you guys want us to listen to. We have some actually like probably 6 or 7 like listener submitted recommendations that we're going to be getting into here pretty soon. We're going to have, hopefully we'll have more episodes of us in the All Us Media studio. Let us know what you guys think about this whole new setup. And yeah, man, stick around. And Brett, what would you rate this episode?
Man, I'm going to rate this episode a fucking...
I'm going to rate this episode
All right, thank you all for watching.